Welcome, welcome, everybody. This is the CyphaDen chat. I'm your host, Tayamu Denko. I got my homie, Mean Green Pesterine, the homie Pestilence, my co host. And tonight, the man, the myth, the legend, MMA, kickboxing, all of that goodness. Mark Hunt is in the building. What is going on, man?
Hey, what's happening, man? Thanks for having the show.
Yeah, man.
It's
It's
an honor.
definitely. So Pestilence, you're gonna
Yeah,
jump
man.
this, you're gonna jump
I,
this one
I'll
off,
yeah,
bro.
I'll jump us off. I'm never the conventional questions. I'm always like the weird. I just ask kind of like I get curious about various things, and you're a fascinating man for a lot of reasons. Um, but one thing I wanted to know is like so like with combat sports, I think it's kind of unique in the sense that it's a lot more individual than a lot of other sports that you see like at the forefront of stuff. So with that kind of being the case, I know people train together and stuff like that, and you got teams and all that good stuff. But what what is your like broad relationship with like when you're in the heat of like say when you're in the UFC or when you're in one of these promotions, like how well do you know the other fighters that you're potentially fighting or people at different weight classes? Like, do you guys brush elbows like pretty frequently? Is it like kind of a cordial relationship? Is there a camaraderie there, or is it truly individual and you don't really see those people unless you're happen to be in the same place at the same time?
Well, pretty much like you said, when you see them at different places, it's pretty much cordial. I mean, unless you break bread with them, train with them, then you don't really know them. It's just work-wise, you have your own teams. You go to different venues around the globe, and you just compete. That's pretty much it. Unless you actually break bread like it or train with someone for a while, then you'll know that person differently. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, so when you were fighting, was there ever anybody that you didn't get a chance to get in the ring with that you wish you would have?
Um, I probably pretty much just wanted to get in with everyone and just, you know, um, get rematches. I mean, the only person that I never, well, in my kickboxing days was a guy named Andy Hug. So I was sitting next to another fighter named Ernesto Houston. He was just sitting there when I first came into K1, and I saw Andy Hug walk over to the elevator, and I said, "Oh, I should go take a picture with him before he goes and disappears." Um, but I never ended up getting that picture of him because he died um later on. So I never got to be able to get that picture or share the ring with Andy Hug. So yeah.
Interesting.
That's what's up, man. Being a part of Pride, I feel like when I found out about the Pride Fighting Championship, it was probably the most um organized, brutal fighting that I've seen at that period of time. Um, how different, I mean, obviously I know there was different rules, but how different were the buildups and fights back then before they really officially called uh it mixed martial arts? It was basically you just, you're fighting, like you're like UFC wasn't really a thing yet, and Pride was like the beginning of that, like anything goes. How different was it being a part of that compared to when you were in like the organized promotion of like UFC or whatever?
I mean, Pride was organized also. It was Japanese based. I think the shows were great. It was always with massive stadiums. I didn't mind fighting in Pride. There was a yeah. I just I thought it was it was pretty much like it was in UFC. It was the same. It was quite good. Competing, it was like the big crowds. The show was better, a lot better. The build up. It was yeah. It was an eye opener. It was really good.
What's up, man? Do you have did you have other things growing up? Obviously, you probably did. I mean, or did you know growing up that you wanted to be a professional fighter? Was it like just something that you always knew that you would be good at? Like you wanted to be in sports, or was there other things that you had on the mind that you wanted to move into a different direction?
Well, you know, growing up as a kid, I didn't really get the best start in life. I didn't really want to be a prize fighter. You know, I feel it was just it was my path in life from God. You know, it's like, you know, I always was behind at school. Um and not like I didn't want to learn. It's just that I had other issues like life. You know, growing up a troubled kid. So I mean, fighting for me always came back. You know, saved me from different situations. As I grew older, I used fighting to pay some bills and rent, and you know, I got my first pro fighter contract at the age of 27. You know, I had no amateur background. I just, you know, was had my first ring fight after I got into an altercation outside a nightclub. You know, I think it was like 7 days later. Um, so you know, I never wanted to be a fighter. I didn't know what I wanted to be with my life growing up. I was just living life because things weren't the same. You think things weren't normal as a kid.
And growing up in, because you're from New Zealand originally, now you're in Sydney, right?
I
Um,
mean, yeah, yeah. I'm in Melbourne at the moment, but yeah, I live in Sydney, but I'm from originally from New Zealand.
so how different like is that? Like I'm just thinking about when uh like how different is it from small, because New Zealand's not big. It's like, I mean, it's big, but it's not big. You know what I'm saying? Compared to like Australia as a whole. Like, is it? I mean, was fighting a thing there, or did you have to go to Sydney to get into like the fight clubs, or like the boxing gyms, kickboxing gyms? Like, did you have to move around to make that happen, or was there actually big fight clubs in New Zealand?
No, I mean, back in New Zealand, Muay Thai just started in New Zealand. You know, it was quite, you know, getting big in New Zealand Muay Thai. I didn't have to move to Australia because of fighting. I moved to Australia because I just got out of jail for the second time. You know, I was a youth. I was 21 when I went to Oz, and it was just to change my life. You know, just to stay away from because you know I was, you know, the groups were calling. I didn't want to be a part of any group. I wanted to be myself, and I got out of jail, and for the second time, I was like, you know, I've got an opportunity to go to Oz. I'd never been on a plane before, and I didn't have any money, so it was actually my brother paid for our airfares, and I was like, I need to go and change my life, and not keep getting into the cycle of crime and being you know, and being in trouble all the time. So that's why I left New Zealand for Oz to change my life and stay out of trouble. So yeah. So there were fight clubs there. I just, like I said, I moved to Oz. I got into 2 years of being lost in the wilderness. I used fighting to pay some bills. One of my managers who actually got me fights and said, "Oh, you know, you can pay your rent. Want you to fight this guy? Sure, sure." You know, it was the way to get by.
Yeah.
What's up?
Because
Um, I'm curious because like I think a lot of people glamorize like fame of any kind. You know, obviously professional athletes and anything. People are like, man, that would be so cool. You know, to get, you know, I know in a lot of cases you're not getting a ton of money in certain different areas, but if you are one of the people, you're getting, you know, you're doing well or you make a good living for yourself, and you know, I feel like you, from the sounds of things, have. Um, what is it like once you start to get to the point where it's like, all right, I'm not going to be doing this much longer? What is there a mental strife that you face going from like, hey, this has become my livelihood? I'm not, you know, obviously you can't fight until you're 100 years old, and there's hopefully a lot of life after fighting. Is there a lot of obstacles you had to go through when you kind of realized you were nearing the end of your, you know, your in-ring career?
So when I started, I was still working a full time job. I was, you know, I was working a full time job at a pharmaceutical factory, as a laborer making their tablets for a company called Blackmore. So I was still working a full-time job. I mean, I won my first tournament of K1, and then I said to the boss, look, can I do this? Can I work part-time, like 4 hours, and train the rest? And I was doing that until the next year, until I won the tournament again, and then was pushed into the top end of K1. And then I said to myself, I'd made more money in 23 minutes than I did in 6 months of working at this job. So I decided to go and pack it in and chase this fighting career. And then the next year I won the world title in K1, and I got my first pro contract. Are you talking about that before? Do you want
I'm
me to go?
talking
Do you
about
want me
like
to
I'm talking about like the after. So like
after?
like after you're
So that's how
done,
I
like
started. But after, when I get to fighting, like it was like pretty much like I said. You said you can't fight forever. Fighters think they can, but physically it's hard to continue to do that as a fighting. So yeah, it's hard. Like there's adrenaline as a fighter. There's it's better than drugs as you walk out to do battle, and it's euphoric, to be honest. So you can't really get that anywhere else. But you got to go to the training and get the fights organized for that to happen. So yeah, I mean, like I lost interest for fighting as a pro fighter when I got into the law courts, when I put in a lawsuit against against the UFC. That's when I lost. When it just became, why was I even fighting for the world title? Why was I even thinking this was good? Because there's no point. There's no point in training if it's like when you get ripped off by management. You get ripped off by management. You goes, well, what's the purpose of training or fighting? Because you've got to surround yourself with some good people, and out there, especially with fighting, there's a lot of sharks out there. They're just criminals. So yeah, I lost interest in fighting and competing. When I put a lawsuit on this company. So yeah.
that's interesting. That's actually crazy to me that you say there's a lot of sharks out there in the fighting industry. Because like to me, if you're gonna try to rip people off, the last people that I feel like you would try to rip off are people that could rip your head off, if they got their hands on you.
Yeah, but yeah, I get that people think that fighters are all tough and everything, but these days, you can't really be doing that because you go straight to jail. Those are the people you want to rip off. If you're a crooked person, you say, I'm gonna rip the guy that can't do anything because you'll have to get me in a lawsuit. Because how else are you gonna go? You're gonna go and assault people, put them, shoot them, whatever. You go to jail.
Damn.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
it's not about how tough you are. It's actually about how smart you are in the law courts. You can't really get away with shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
dummies going, I'm going to go and shoot this person. I'm going to do this. Unless they've done something like, molest kids or something, then you go kill them. But, apart from that,
You kind of gotta take your lickings and stuff like that.
got to make better decisions and choices. That's what I say. So, yeah.
Yeah. We had a random fan question from the homie Craig Ludwig out of Pennsylvania. He actually wanted to know. Well, he basically said, "You're one of the best fighters out of the Pacific Islands. What are you going to do to ensure the future success of the Pacific Island culture in MMA?"
Well, I've not only just done it for my culture, for Polynesians, but I've done it for everybody. I put a lawsuit on the UFC about steroids and PEDs, and it was about fair, having an even playing field to play on. And it's not just going to change combat sport; it changes all contact sport, all contact sport. So when someone asks me what have I done for my community, when people talk about suing big companies, people don't. I didn't realize is that all I was trying to do was get an even fight. And here I am 10 years down the track, financially strapped, a lot of problems mentally. A lot of things happened when you're in the lawsuits. And, these guys, and, the UFC got deep, deep pockets. So when
Yeah.
people ask me they shouldn't have to ask me what I've done for my community of fighters. It's already there. It's in black and white. I've paid it with my blood, with my own fucking money, with my own retirement. That's what I've done, I risked my retirement, my kids' retirements, for a fair fight for everybody.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have to ask me what I've done for my community or fighting. My legacy isn't being the best fighter in the world. My legacy is what I've left behind for you guys, and that is an even fight, an even playing field.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I always, I mean, I never was in fighting. I did football and track, but uh, even nowadays you see uh track athletes getting called for like the steroids or the boosters, and it always sucks because you put your work, like you put your full work into training to get better, to move forward, to do the best that you can do, and then there's the people that are
But
out
what
there
happens to you?
cheating the system.
It gets halted.
Yeah.
Your career doesn't move forward, and that is part of a lawsuit that I like the laws that I put on. You halted my career by allowing these steroid cheaters to fight me. So, in actual fact, it was you that stopped me from moving forward. If you didn't do that, my future would have been different. So
Yeah.
that is why, not only do shortcut takers and cheaters change history or ruin history, like we've seen it before. Ben Johnson, we've seen, Lance Armstrong, Marion Jones. We've seen all these shortcut takers ruin history for the guys that didn't cheat.
Mhm.
And the guys that came second, third, fourth, or fifth, what happens to them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a long
what
fall.
ha- what happens to their kids? Their kids don't get the opportunities because their father couldn't go forward. Why? Because he was stopped because some guy was doping. Some shortcut taker couldn't go forward. Couldn't keep up with the big boys. So he had to go and take a shortcut to try and keep up. So for me, that's criminally wrong and illegal. Like I said,
I totally agree. Do you think that's something that's still um as prevalent today as it was when you were fighting?
well, to be honest, it's been part of my whole career. It was only up until the UFC that I ended up saying, I'm sick of these fucking cheaters. I'm sick of these guys. I'm sick of them taking food out of my kids' fucking mouths.
Yeah.
And how do I stop this? Even when you ask, your boss like Dana White and these fucking scumbags, you ask them, can you do something about these guys? Oh, Mark, it's not up to us. It's up to USADA. But then you find out that USADA is getting paid off by these guys. You go, well, you find out all these things. It's just a waste of time in the end. Um, at the end of the day, when you realize where you are in the situation, you goes, okay, so it's got to be that way. If you're not going to do something about it, then I will. And then you go into this lawsuit, and because these guys have got so much money, these guys pay my lawyers off to sabotage my case. That is so
Holy
annoying for me. You know what
fuck.
I mean? The
Yeah.
narrative they put on my
That's
name,
crazy.
like I'm a whinging person, but yet they paid my lawyers off, and it took me 7.5 years to get it to this point. And in 1 year, I've changed the whole case around to be where it is. These guys, like I said, after the civil, because the civil is about money, is going to be a criminal case. Like P. Diddy, these guys will be indicted. You'll see Dana White going to jail next year. And that's what makes me, it doesn't make me laugh. It really annoys me that the narrative they put on my name is like that they, like I've done something wrong. Not
Yeah.
only have those guys colluded together to form a RICO contravention, but they paid my lawyers off. Fuck, it's like a movie, this whole thing. I'm like, am I fucking, what I'm surprised about is like, I'm surprised it didn't kill me many years ago. I'm wondering, now they're probably wondering why they didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's fucking
wild.
crazy. Fucking crazy.
Yeah. See.
Another thing that I was kind of curious about your opinion on it, because I don't know if it was something that you ever really had to do. But I've seen some videos recently of fighters at weigh-ins that have cut extreme weight, just shaking, and you can tell that they're putting themselves through like an absolute traumatic event to cut down to that weight. And then by the time they're on fight day, they're, maybe 20 pounds heavier than they were when they weighed in. Um, is that something that like what do you think of people that are cutting weight like that to get there? Do you think that's just part of the game, or do you think it's something where they should have, same day weigh-ins?
Yeah,
Um,
I've had to cut weight, believe it or not, a few times, and two times are really hard. One time I was 141 kilograms before a fight against Fabricio Werdum in Mexico. I had 3.5 weeks to lose that. So I went into that fight. I was fucked up, and I got beat in the second round. The worstest weight cut I've ever had is against a guy named Stipe. So I cut, I think, 11 kilograms in 2 days or a day. It was horrible. I went to a fight. I went from straight from the sauna to the weigh-ins. I made the weight, and I just couldn't recover. I nearly died that fight. I went to the hospital after the fight. I think I still got the record for the most punches to the head. But
wow.
that weight cut was horrible. It was I had no energy from that fight, and I think it went 4 rounds, and it was just him battering me. And that's because there was no glycogen in my muscles. My body, I drank after the weigh-in. I mean, I was, all over the place. I had an IV. Back then, you were allowed to have IVs. I had a drink of, I think it was chocolate milk or something, and then after that, I couldn't because my stomach was so was shrunken, and I couldn't recover. It was only a day before the fight. There was no recovery, and I just got pounded into oblivion. So the first takedown, I couldn't defend, and then it was all over from there. So those weight cuts, you could die. They're really bad. And I think you're talking about that putting on weight a day before the fight. I think that only matters for the little guys, the smaller weights. And I think that's weight bullying. I think they call it that. Is that what it is? I think
Something like that,
if
yeah.
if you can get gain 5-10 kilos the next day, and eat like that, because I don't know how people can after you don't eat for if you weight cut. I don't know. I must have weight cut differently, but fuck, I don't know how you could put on 5-6 kilos next day, but they must be able to do it. So yeah, I couldn't. For me, it was different.
Yeah, I had another fan question since uh we're talking a little bit about your fights. Michael out of Dover, New Hampshire, he wanted to know, who do you feel was the tougher opponent, Crow Cop or Fedor?
I think both fighters are great. I think Fedor's the goat. I love Mirka. He's a good fighter also. I don't think for me there wasn't no other fighter that was actually um tougher. I think for me or any other fighter, I think our toughest fight is against ourselves. I
Hmm.
don't think, I mean, as you get to the top end level, it doesn't matter. It only becomes inches that people beat you by, or you get caught. But I don't think it was any other fighter for me in person. It was just myself. It was the battle against myself.
What's up, man? Do you have a memorable story? Because obviously you fight all over the world when you're involved in K1, UFC Pride. Do you have a memorable story that stands out from any of those locations that you were fighting at? Something that randomly stood out aside from the fight itself. Like just being there, is there something that happened that's like memorable? Like in a location that you could think of.
I fought in a few different places. I don't think I think they were all great experiences in fighting in the bigger crowds. I mean, as they got bigger, for me it was better. I think then after that, I think once you go to the bigger crowds, you don't want to go backwards. But I think they were pretty much all the same. They were great experiences, to be honest. So yeah,
Yeah, because
nothing
we
stood out. Yeah.
all right. That's what's up. I was just curious because so like me and Pestilence we do music, and we tour. We're about to go on. He's about to go on his first national tour, and it's my 19th national tour, and we look forward to. But I always have crazy, just weird standout things that just happen in different locations. So that's why I was just curious if you had like a story that happened where you were somewhere and like, let's say you were getting something to eat and like, I don't know, some random shit happened. I was just curious to that, like something like that, because I could write a book about the crazy shit I've seen on tour. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there probably is, but I just like I said, they've all been great experiences. I think it gets weirder as you get up there more. So, but yeah, I don't know if I should. I won't share anything at the moment.
Yeah, man. Do you have do you have some top songs that will be on your workout mixtape?
um, I'm 50 now, so I have old school bands. Um, there's a few different. I used to work at a rock club. There's a few different. Yeah, depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Probably some Creed or some, it depends. Some rap, maybe some Dre, some Silverchair. Who knows? AC/DC. It depends on what I'm doing. Yeah,
All
That's
good
what's up.
choices.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember when I ran at the indoor college nationals, uh and the song that was popular at that time was this fucking uh it was it's funny because I'm technically down with Onyx. I don't know if you're familiar with Onyx, like the hip hop group. Like
no,
they like
wow.
like they do the song like slam dup da dup dup
Oh
da
yeah,
da. So
I didn't know
so
they were called Onyx. Yeah,
yeah, so I'm down with their label called 100 Mad, and around the time when I was running at this national meet, there was this song called "Shut 'Em Down" with Onyx and DMX, and it was like it was like the hardest song ever, and I just listened to it on repeat, 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 and I was in like the worst lane choice. I don't know how familiar you are with track and field, but I was in the worst lane choice. I was all the way out in lane 7. There was no lane 8 on this indoor track, so I was all the way out in lane 7. Didn't see anyone, and I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be terrible. Either everyone's gonna eat me up, and I'm gonna see everybody at the end, or something's gonna happen, and I'm gonna just fucking have the race of my life and not see anybody the whole race and win." And that's what happened. Actually, I didn't see anybody. I I set the conference record that day, and yeah, I mean that song hyped me up to a crazy degree level. I don't know if obviously it's not just the song, but I was in a crazy hype state. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I get that like that too. Also, I like my son's he's 16 now, but I listen to all his music from the groups around these ways, like 046, HB Boys, and Hooligan Hef. So it just depends on where I'm at. Or, yeah, driving, I like listening to the different groups. Yeah, the same.
That's what's up, man. There's actually a hip hop MC that I used to know from Australia. They used to be part of a crew of mine. His name was MC 360. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was part of he was actually part of the Australian Rolling Stone, which I didn't even know there was a strict Australian Rolling Stone. I had no idea that there was like their own thing.
Oh
But
wow, that's
I
cool.
I, I used to see that he used to always be he used to always play the huge festivals out that way or whatever. Um yeah. How hard was it? How long ago? Oh man. I mean, you were probably in Sydney around the time that it happened, but how hard was it to um overcome the crazy fires that happened out there? Because there was like real crazy fires out there, right? Like some
Yeah,
years back.
they were really bad. They were, yeah. I mean, waking them up in the morning, taking them to sleep. I don't think I was in I don't think I was in. I think I was away from Sydney. I was probably in California at the time. 1 second, let me just pause. His name.
He owns the journal in Italy.
Yeah. I was probably in California at the time, so I'm not at home. So yeah, but yeah, they were bad, the fires.
Yeah, man. Pesto, you got something?
Yeah, I got a couple things. So back to the music thing, because obviously, like it really does link in with combat sports. And my only experience with this from a personal level, where I got to feel like kind of what you're talking about with like the fighter's adrenaline, is when I was a freshman in high school, I weighed 80 pounds, and my uncle was a wrestling coach at a school that my school, if we joined wrestling, we'd wrestle for that school, and they didn't have somebody at 103. So they needed somebody to go in there and basically take forfeits and get their ass kicked. So he asked me if I would do it, and I said sure, and I got into it, and it ended up being, one of the best decisions I ever made. Not that I ever made anything of myself. I was terrible at wrestling, but just the discipline it took to do the training and go through the practices and just,
Yeah,
get beat up and constantly go through that. It really gives you a confidence. But the other thing that made it very worth it is my uncle's very into music, and he would always, every time we would have a dual meet at our school, he would always DJ a song for us to come out to. So whether it was like Down with the Sickness by Disturbed, we come out to the crazy noise that he does, or Drowning Pool's Bodies or something like that. Is that something that were there songs that you would pick before you would go out to the ring where you're like, this is gonna get me in that zone?
yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I do that. Because that the song takes you to where you are, and in your mind, exactly where you are. So I mean, same thing with the music people play on their social media these days. Same thing with fighting, like walking out. So a lot of the fights I walked out to, and I think it was the Pride days. I mean, I loved the exhibit at the time. Um, there's a lot of different songs I played to, a bit of reggae while I was walking out the Pride. So yeah, I get what
That's
you mean.
awesome.
So music's always good to walk out with. It feels good and it feels right. So yeah, it helps with that entrance.
I think the funniest one we ever had is a school called Denmark around here came out to the Ghostbusters theme song against us, and we were just laughing while we were trying to warm up. So it was kind of a psychological warfare.
Yeah, I think that.
Another thing.
Sorry.
Oh, so another
No,
thing, and this is off topic, that I saw this, and I don't know if this is like something where it was spliced, where it was like a reel of you talking, and then somebody else took this for their video, but it must have gotten pretty big. It was he's either from New Zealand or Australia. He kind of had that talk about him. It was a TikToker, and he was talking. He was in like a live, and in this reel, it's like you come up in a chat, and he kind of says like, "Oh, I'll knock you out," and then you request to join the live. Is that real, or was that something this guy fabricated?
oh no, that's that was a guy named Gang. So yeah, no, that was funny. That was quite cool. That was fabricated. Gang is is my one of my sons. He likes because he likes watching TikTokers and content makers, and so yeah, that was quite funny, wasn't it?
Yeah, that had me dying because I
That was
thought to
cool. That was,
myself, like, of
yeah.
anybody to like talk smack to, like you get Mark Hunt to come into your live. Like
You know, that was he still does a lot of TikTok. Yeah, that was quite funny.
I started to think that after a while, like that probably wasn't real, but man, it
Yeah,
definitely had me laughing.
it wasn't real, so yeah. But it looked legit, didn't it?
It did look legit.
Yeah.
Uh, when I had a conversation with Mark Coleman one time, and when we had a conversation, I asked him a question I wanted to ask you as well. Uh, I'm big on certain video games, and I like the UFC video game, man, but he said he had nothing to do. He actually hates how his character always looked in the video game. He said he never really got asked to give an okay of his likeness, like how it was. Like, did they ever ask or involve you in any of that, like your likeness or like any of that in the video game aspect at all?
Yeah, no, when there's in Pride in K1 they did, but the UFC, when you sign the contract, they own all your rights. They own it's pretty much like I said, it's a slaver's contract, and they take away all your freedoms. It's that's why it's a slaver's contract. They don't as soon as you sign a contract, them they own your rights. So come out.
So they do it. So yeah, they do whatever they want. Then at that point, is basically
Well,
what
they own your IP. They own all your they own all your shit. As soon as you sign the contract, and that's why they're in these lawsuits. Their contracts are slavery contracts. It's a problem. It's a big problem for them. And then and they won't be going for it unless they change their model. Just like why they're getting sued. All these their model is a horrible model. It's a especially for the fighters. The fighters. As soon as you sign, you're done. They can bench you. You can't make a living. They own your IP, your intellectual property. They own all your shit. So that's what happens. I mean, and that's why it's a sad thing about it. But as fighters, they've got to be a bit more smarter and things. And sometimes the situation doesn't. You've always got a choice, but when you sign a contract with the UFC, your choices are taken away, and that's called slavery, my friend. Hammerhouse. No, I love Mark Coleman. He's such a cool dude, So I've been watching his videos, man, and every time he talks, I'm just waiting to hear it. I'm waiting to hear it. Hammer out. So I love it, man. He's a cool guy,
Yeah, man.
Big
No,
fan of Coleman, so big fan.
I like that, I like that you're, because obviously, like you said, you invested a lot into it. You put a lot of blood into it. Now you put a lot of money into it. And I'm sure like that it's always a pushback when you're fighting against a system that's so big like that. And I mean, the closest thing that we've had to deal with, in the music scene from where we're at is, there's a lot of promoters and there's a lot of, like A&R people that will take people's likenesses and take people when they sign for a label and they have rights to their music.
Same thing. The
And
same thing as you sign to a label, man. As soon as you sign the contract, they own your rights. It's a slavery contract. They take away your freedom of choice.
right. And
Um,
well, it seems like speaking out against that, like what I've noticed is that there's certain people that will support us that are they're our peers. So these are people that I would think like, hey, we're fighting for all of us. We're not just fighting for us. We're fighting for you too. But it seems like it's hard to get people on the side with it. And I always tell people like, hey, don't feel like you have to come and join this fight too. I'm not trying to ruin your
yeah,
livelihood or anything like that, but this is what I've chosen to do because I believe this is what's right and this is what I have to do.
this is
Um,
correct. That
is
is the
is that
that is
is that
called
how it's been
purpose,
for
my
you?
friend. That
Yeah, is
is
that how
how it
it's
is.
been for you?
Yep, that's exactly what it is, and that's called purpose. And when I realized my purpose in life, it wasn't about being the best fighter in the world. It was about like Star Trek, going where nobody has gone before, doing things that no one has done before, and no one's ever challenged, this or done this before ever. Otherwise, it would have been done already. But yeah, it's like you said, it's not for me to ask you to join my fight. This is something that I've chosen to go alone, and whether you support or not, it's up to you. At the end of the day, when change is made, that's when you'll see things change for everything, for every other sport and for every contact sport and every fighter. So yeah.
Do you like, and don't feel, you don't have to share any names because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but has there been anybody since you've been kind of fighting this that's reached out to you that's been a peer of yours that says, hey man, like it's awesome that you're doing this. Like you're doing the right thing.
Well, no, I just, at the end of the day, I mean, I just like you said, I took this battle on my own because I was sick of, going through these fights, and when it started way before the Brock Lesnar fight happened. It happened when I broke my hand against Bigfoot. 16 screws. And he got a penalty of 9 months, and I was out for a year, and he was fighting before I did, and he was the one that got penalized. So, I've seen it throughout my whole career. But then when I came here, and then I said, I kept asking Dan, I said, you got to do something about this, dude. Know what's going on? And then when they actually put the Lesnar fight on, and they allowed him to dope. They knew he was cheating. They allowed him to go through the fight. USADA, all of them, they all colluded against me. And this is what happens. And like I said, the problem comes here where, um, you know, they, even with coercion, and when they forced me to fight Alistair over him, it's been kind of ridiculous, to be honest. It's like it just gets worse and worse for these guys. But this case is all material evidence. And November 20 is when the oral argument is. But I don't know what they're going to try and argue. I mean, how can you argue you're lying for 7.5 years, and then you come
Yeah.
to the trial and go, with pivot, we had to pivot. Why? Because Mark was right. Yes. So I mean, you're coming to try and come to court with nothing. I mean, all they've done was just they paid my lawyers off, and she tried to sabotage my case. She did for 7.5 years, but it's going to come back and bite her in the ass. So yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely stand with the fairness, man, because I mean that's all I ever want to see when sports happen, man. Like I hate hearing, like, you even hear, like, there's always rumors in the NFL where, like, oh, they rigged the game's rigged. They those guys are pros. They can basically do all this shit in the game to basically make an outcome happen or whatever. And I never watch sports for that. I always watch sports to see either an upset happen or the best of the best go against each other, not even thinking in my mind that somebody was on some cheater shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
but the thing about that is, I mean, if you have rules, you make rules, you make it for everybody. If you're going to have rules, and if you're going to make everyone, and then you're going to try and change them for your own benefit, that's and then you say, if it's going to be the best of the best, yeah, best of the best, not cheating.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If people put other fighters, he's like the greatest of all time, or he's here, has he done it without cheating? Then he could be considered as one of the best fighters ever. But when people take shortcuts and these companies allow them to, I think it's criminally wrong, and they should be prosecuted. This is why we're in these lawsuits. So yeah.
I agree. That being said, like with the, like you could consider somebody to be the greatest of all time if they did it without cheating. Who would you put, and you don't have to pick one, but who would you put in your like top few guys of who you think deserves to be mentioned in those conversations when we talk about the greatest of all time?
Well, I mean, first off, the ones that aren't cheating. Fucking, any of the top guys are not cheating. It depends on, Fedor, for one, I think was one of the best fighters ever. Um, Demetrius Johnson.
Mhm.
There's a lot of great fighters out there. Like I said, the ones first off the list is the ones that have been caught cheating. Get rid of those guys. Get rid of those fools for starters.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. You can put a lot of them up there that's actually done something. Yeah, to be honest. So yeah,
Yeah, man. That's what's up.
that's
Damn.
what's up.
That's what's up. Uh, what do you think? I mean, obviously, you got the lawsuit going on with UFC. What do you think? I just recently said, like, I don't really watch UFC as much as I used to back in the day. Um, I mean, I still catch fights every once in a while, but I basically just check like stats or like who won or who lost or whatever. But I saw recently one of the recent fights, um, where the person that lost came home with more money than the person that won in like a championship fight. Like what? Like I mean, what? I mean, what's your opinion on that? Like, that's just.
It depends on the contract that you sign and where you are. It depends. I mean, probably those ring girls make more than UFC fighters. It's actually a shame, to be
Mhm.
honest. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think even with I feel like with boxing, they've got it right with the Ali Act in there. It covers a lot of the fight. That's why the champions are making the kind of money they're getting. They get a percentage of the pay per view. With the contract of UFC, you've got to actually, talk with Dana White and ask. Well, I don't know if he's going to be the boss any much longer. I think he's not the boss now, but you've got to argue with someone about a percentage of that pay per view to get a cut.
Hmm.
That's how it works with their contracts, and only when you're the champion. Is what I was told when I was in the UFC a long time ago. Is you get a cut of the pay per view.
Hmm.
Wow.
Even for sponsors, I mean, if you want to sponsor the sponsors, they've got to pay the UFC first. I think it was $100,000 back then, and they've got to pay the UFC before they pay you. And not many companies can afford that. It's got to be like a big company to be able to do that. That's why, all the fighters are getting paid from sponsors to kind of cut their legs off, to be honest. So, they were getting less from their fight purses. So yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an inspiration? Do you have a fighter inspiration or just a person inspiration that that helped inspire you through your fighting career?
I am a big fan of Bruce Lee. Um, he's not really a real fighter, but he's a fighter in different avenues. And of course, Mike Tyson I was a big fan of Mike Tyson always. Um, yeah.
Speaking of Tyson, what do you think of the crazy Hollywood showdown that's going on between
Jake
him and
Paul.
Jake Paul?
Yeah, Jake Paul.
Yeah, I think Tyson's nearly 60. I think it's a kind of a sham. I mean, I'm 50 and I know how hard it'd be for training. I think it's financially, of course. I mean, he's made a lot of bad decisions financially, but to be honest, that's why he's probably fighting. I mean, it wouldn't be for any other reason but to make money. Um, and it's probably because the guys around him didn't help him properly. They just took advantage of him. But you know, I mean, I mean, with the Jake Paul situation, I mean, he's doing okay. He's actually putting a lot of bums on seats. I mean, all this talk about better fighter pay. I mean, that's just all talk. But at least he's bringing light to it. I mean, unless you actually do something about it, then that's just all it is, talk. So
Hmm.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tune in to watch it. It'd be a great fight.
Yeah. I mean, I would just love to see. I mean, I feel like every time people have seen Jake Paul fight, they just want to see just someone just knock, and then no one does it, and no one does
I
it.
think, bro, I think he's doing. I don't like his choice about picking Tyson, but I mean, he's done all right for a YouTuber, man. Come on, you gotta give him that. He's actually gone there. He's filled up stadiums, and he's the fucking YouTuber. So people
Yeah,
just want to see him get fucking king hit. but
yeah.
to be honest, on the other side of it, I think he's done really well. So I'm a fan of him on that side. But as for fighting Tyson, but anyway, hopefully Tyson can pull out one of the big ones before he cruises off.
I mean,
How many?
I heard that that's actually like an official. Unless they change it now. I heard it when I read the last update of it. I heard it was an official bout where
Sanctioned bout, yeah.
like a loss would go on his record if he loses.
Well, I don't know, man. These commissions, you can't trust any of them. They're like USADA and the rest of the Las Vegas Commission. They're untrusting as anything. They're all being paid by money. And that's for damn sure. I got evidence of that. Fuck. Untrusting motherfucking criminals, bro.
Pastor, you got
How many?
something?
How many? How many sons do you have?
I got two. Two that I
Two?
know of. So, yeah.
Two that
Well,
you
actually, I got three now. So
three? Cool.
yeah,
How is it? How have you enjoyed fatherhood?
it's been hard. I do miss my kids. I've traveled a lot. I need to, you know, things have been not too bad. I mean, being trying to set a good example for the kids, trying to provide. But there's one thing, trying to make sure they see their father trying to do the right thing, regardless of not having to do bad things, staying on the right side of the law and doing the right things, trying to set a good example.
That's what's up,
That's
man.
dope.
Do you have what's next for you? I mean, are you running are you planning on training people going forward? Like, are you kind of just getting done with the lawsuit stuff? Or are you just living life now?
Well,
Well, like,
I haven't. I'm actually, like I said, I'm just, this lawsuit's taken a long, long time because of my, they paid my lawyer off, Christina Denning and Brian Boshi. They paid these guys off. It's taken a long, long time, but it's taken a year to get it back on track with the Ninth Circuit, and we're here. I've got a lot of things I've got to do after this, which is put on more lawsuits. Then I've got to sue, Christina Denning, Brian Boshi. These are my former law firm. I got to sue USADA for allowing the Brock Lesnar fight. That's why they parted ways with UFC, because they tried to get Conor McGregor through. And USADA said no. But like I said to them, whether you took a little bit of the pie, bite of the pie, or a big bit of the pie, you still bit the fucking pie. I'm going to sue you. The Las Vegas Commission, all these people that were part of this civil RICO case will be sued. There's a few other things that I want to do, with a lot of philanthropy, helping, schizophrenia. My oldest brother's schizophrenic. I want to help, kids out my ways. There's a lot of things I've got planned. I want to have my own football team in the NRL here. There's a lot of things I want done, that I want to do. But, financially at the moment, like I said, I've had to get this lawsuit underway, and we're nearly there. We're just about to finish this case. I feel we've already won this case. There's absolutely, and Dana White and Hunter Campbell, you're both going to fucking jail. For starters, and you're gonna join. You're gonna join P Diddy. P Diddy's gonna bum you in those fucking cells, guys. That's what you're gonna get. He's gonna bum these motherfuckers, and he's gonna do what he did to that fucking other guy. Oh, daddy, oh. And that's what's up. That's what's up with these motherfuckers, because
that's
at the end of the day, you can only take advantage of so many people till something comes back and bites you in the fucking ass. Just like that dude, P. Diddy, all those people that P. Diddy that he's fucking bummed, that put them all into that hole. I hope they all get fucking crushed, all of them. I just don't understand. This is fucking ridiculous. How could you just do that to kids and, take advantage of fucking kids? Anyway, I shouldn't be saying things.
No, it's a messed up thing, and I think we all kind of
I
agree. I
shouldn't
think
be
it's
saying
something
things
that is.
public because their lawyers always try to use everything I say against me in the court. So yeah. Yep.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the reason why none of my lawsuit has been picked up publicly by the media is because of the fact that these guys always try to block it. But the narrative they got about me is that I've lost multiple times, but they don't realize that my lawyer actually sabotaged my case. I didn't even realize I've had 3 appeals. One of them was two of them were thrown out. When I look at the docket, I go, when did I have that appeal? That's fucking rubbish. She never told me about that. So what makes me laugh is my lawyers have tried to sabotage this case from I think 11 causes of action to 1, and then have it thrown out. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
And now I sit here, we're just about to, this lawsuit's about to end, and it's like, fuck. That's why you see Dana White, the prick, going around looking for, we're going to get into boxing. No, cunt, you're just going to get kicked the fuck out of UFC, cunt. Because you're a criminal. Because the new owner is Ari Emanuel. Look at it, he goes, you piece of shit, you've just cost us fucking billions of dollars, cunt. piece of shit. Why? Because he's a fucking little grub. They're gonna kick him out of the fucking UFC, and that's why he's gonna. We're gonna do boxing now. Oh, we're gonna do slap fighting now. No, cunt. No one wants to see slap fighting. No one wants to see you in boxing because you'll rip them both off too. You're a criminal. Anyway, I don't really normally rant on, but every time I talk about that guy, I start getting a bit wild because he's just a little fucking scumbag.
I
feel
think
you.
Danko and I can both appreciate and respect that. We've had our fair share of bouts with people in the music industry that we feel the same way about and have put it on wax and gone back and forth with people about it and had, various dissensions. That's why I asked before about like, because it does seem to be, like there's a current situation going on right now with one of those guys with a rapper by the name of Chino XL who passed away a couple months ago. And there's one of these A&Rs is releasing an album in his likeness and his name and everything, and saying that, the guy's posting to his Instagram how close he was with Chino, and Chino XL's family's actually posting on his Instagram saying this guy has nothing to do with us. He's directly going against the wishes of the estate. He's
Wow.
been asking our daughters. He's been doing things like this. And I've noticed, because to me that's point blank, like that guy's, a scumbag. He's fucking
Is he
grubbing shit.
is he a lawyer?
No, he's an
Because
A&R
normally
guy.
that's what
So
lawyers do. They normally get a hold of the estate as the person that executes the will, but they end up stealing all the fucking person's shit and saying, "Oh, that person had nothing he didn't have any money, he didn't have nothing, but I'm the 100% sole heir because he left me in charge of the will." Not
that's
family, just
essentially
a
what's
fucking
happening.
criminal lawyer.
Yeah, that's more or less what's happening. And the thing that's blown my mind about it is because I see it as a clear cut that guy's being a douchebag. And a lot of people are saying, no, that guy's a really good guy. They were friends, they were this, while seeing the post his daughters are making, his wife is making, saying like, no, he's completely violating our privacy at a time where we're grieving. He's taking advantage of the likeness of our father. He's trying to capitalize off of his death. All things that I think
That's
are
and all the
true
funds,
and terrible.
all those funds, all those all those funds that should be going to that wife, the ex, and the kids, not go to
Yeah,
the other person, should be going to her.
Yeah, and his
You
response
know,
to it was
they need to
once it,
they
it
need to address it properly in probate court. That's what they need to do. Address it properly, like the executor of their will. And the thing about lawyers, that's what they do. They become the executor of the will, yet they have 100% shares in their company. They own it all, and they execute. They try to block everyone else off and not give the beneficiaries are supposed to be the wife and the kids, not the fucking lawyer, the piece of shit. Anyway,
right.
yeah, and his actual his response to it was, "Oh, well, I'm going to give the money to the family after I recoup what I invested in the album." Like what the
Yeah. Code for I'm not giving the family anything.
yeah, that's what it is. It's just like that's my money. That's
Yeah.
fucked up. So yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
man.
that's
Yeah.
just some serious bullshit.
Um
So yeah, never feel bad about, following that and ranting about, people that are shitty, because we do the same thing over here.
yeah, man.
Good.
Well,
I mean, otherwise, I mean, who the fuck's gonna hear it? You know, these motherfuckers.
Right.
yeah, man. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer, man. But I did want to ask this. I'm a big food head, and you're in Sydney, but you're from New Zealand. I want your opinion. Best food place in Sydney and in New Zealand.
I'm a big foodie. Look at the size of my fucking head. Pies, steak and cheese pies. I like Vietnamese also. I'm a big Asian fan. Pho in Campbelltown. Yeah, but I eat everything. It depends on there's so many places to eat everywhere. So, steak and cheese pies and Vietnamese food.
Well, that's what's up, man. So when me and Pestilence finally get over to Australia,
Look me up. I'll come
you're-
take you around. I'll come take you around. You know, if we all wind up in the harbor, fucking all, you know, with fucking cement bricks tied to our legs, you know who it is? It's those fucking criminals I just sued. No.
Yeah, I've most of the food you've mentioned is stuff I've never tried before. So I would be really excited to
Well,
try.
hey, you know, you've got my digits. You know, holla when you come down. I'll come and take you about.
Yeah,
Bet.
man. Cool, man. Well,
Bet. That's it.
again, Mark, super appreciate you for being on the podcast, man. Yeah, let people know real quick where they can find you. What are you most active on social wise? Is it the Insta?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to be found anyway. I just got a social page for other stuff, just to talk shit to people. So yeah, so don't worry about finding me. I'll find you.
There it is, man. Well, again, man, I appreciate you.
Take it easy, boys. Thanks for having me on.
It was a pleasure, man.
Thank you again,
See you,
man.
buddy. See ya.
Yep. Peace.
See ya. Bye.
See ya.
Peace.